everybody. Welcome into the Vanda Pharmaceutical Studios. I'm Katie Florio, joined alongside Tarik El-Bashir for a very special Rink Report. It's been a while since we've been in studio, so it feels good, but we're here for a big reason. That is because Alex Ovechkin is officially coming back for his 22nd season. He just met with the media in a studio press conference. He joined from overseas, but everyone else here in D.C. So, Tarik, it's an exciting time here in Washington. What was your biggest takeaway of just his emotions and his excitement during the time he spoke?
You know, I love the fact that the contract negotiation only took 10 minutes. And then we spoke to Chris Patrick, and he said it might have been less than 10 minutes, which tells me that Alex all along knew that he wanted to continue to play. And if there was anything that was going to get him off that fence, if he actually was on the fence, it was the signing of all the players that Chris Patrick did in these last few weeks. I mean, I've covered Ovi since day one. This, Katie, is arguably the most talented and deepest team he will have ever played on.
Yeah, we have a lot to get into today because not only do you have Alex Ovechkin coming back, but you have a lot of new guys on this team that were acquired from trades and free agency. We'll get into all of that a little bit later in the show. But back to Alex Ovechkin. Yeah, he's not 25 anymore, but he can still do a lot. Led the team in goals last season, still hitting a lot of different milestones. We see right there, of course, 900. That was scored last season. Scored his 1,000th career goal for regular season and playoffs in March, and they just keep coming.
Yeah, they do. And you're right. I mean, last year he led the team in goals. He led the team in points. What is the most important thing to do in hockey? Score goals. What is the hardest thing to do in hockey? It is to score goals. And Alex is still doing it at an elite level. And look, Chris Patrick said this about Coach Carberry, and Carberry is really good at playing to his players' strengths, and we saw that last year. I mean, how many D-zone starts did Ovi take? Not many, right? I mean, he was used in a goal-scoring position quite a bit. And look, Alex is still scoring at an elite level, and I think that now that he's going to be surrounded by so much more talent, he's going to start getting some favorable matchups, even on the road, because, you know, opposing coaches can't put out their top pairing and their top checking line against all four lines. When all four lines can score, Alex is going to get a lot of third pairings. I'm talking about opposing defenses. He's going to get a lot of third and fourth lines. He's going to have more space than maybe he had last year when he scored 32 goals. So I really like the way this is shaping up for the Capitals. And like I said, I mean, this is the most talent that's been around Alex in that I can remember since he joined the Capitals.
Yeah, no doubt he wants to win, but I think too another part of that press conference that I really liked was how many times he mentioned his family. It sounds like his wife Nastia is the one that made the decision.
She said okay.
She's the one that absolutely had to give the green light, but then his little boys too. Sergei and Ilya asked him every single day, Dad, what are we doing? Are we going back to D.C.? Are we going back? And he said there's a video once he told them in their reaction. He hasn't shared it yet. But we see them on the glass.
Yeah.
It just felt like no matter what happened, that Ovi still had it in him, and he still wanted to play for his family because he's still, you know, doing Ovi stuff every single day.
Katie, as every married man knows, happy life, happy wife, or vice versa. I mean, it is a situation where you got to make sure the missus is happy, and Nastia gave him the go-ahead, and I'm sure Alex was waiting for that. And so once she was all in, he was all in, and you see the love he has for his boys. I mean, someone told me early on about Alex, you know, as his career was, you know, getting into his later stages, that Alex really felt it was important for him to be remembered by his two sons as a great player who still scored at an elite level, still played at an elite level. So, you know, they've seen him break Wayne Gretzky's record, and now they're going to see him play into our fourth decade of life. He's going to be 41 years old at the start of next year, and he's still scoring at an elite clip. So, I mean, we see it with the boys along the glass, you know, giving them the fist pounds, and after the game, sometimes in the locker room. Look, he's making memories for a lifetime, and, you know, we don't know if this is going to be Alex's last year. If he scores 30 or 40 goals again, who knows? Who knows? He might come back.
Happy wife, happy life. Though I'm not married yet, but I'm going to use that. I'm keeping that one in my back pocket.
It is so true.
That's a great one. But family first for Alex Ovechkin, and the Ovechkins could not be more excited to head back to D.C. in the fall as we now take a look at what Ovi had to say earlier.
Alex Ovechkin joining us on Zoom. while he and his family are vacationing in Turkey. Oh, it's great to see you. How much are you enjoying all of this rest and relaxation?
We have a great time. Me and my wife, obviously kids, and it's been a fun couple days. It was fun time, and celebration of the contract, and we enjoy it.
We say boo on the rain today, but that brings you inside so that you're able to join us for this press conference. Your decision to return's made a lot of Caps fans very happy. What were the keys in your thought process to coming back?
Well, obviously, my family first. I was talking to my mom. I was talking to my wife. Obviously, kids was every day asking me, like, what's going to happen? Are you going to come back or not? And then we make a decision, and I call KP, and we said, okay, here we go. Let's talk about contract, and let's do what's best for the team. And so it was easy conversation, and it was an easy decision when we talked with the KP.
So Alex, describe your thoughts on the improvements and the new players that are going to be surrounding you this upcoming season.
Yeah, obviously it's tough to see the guys leaving, like Mikey, Duhaime. We have a really good relationship, but how I said all the time, it's a business. But what's management did, signing new players, trade for new guys. You can see how KP said it's for Carps. It's gonna be lots of work, lots of thinking of what line combination is gonna be, and we have lots of depth in our lineman. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for a team, for fans as well, because on the paper, you can see our team is one of the best team, but now we have to work for Stanley Cup, for players first of all, and then Stanley Cup, and we all gonna do our best to prove that the all moves and the all signings what we did, it's gonna work.
Well, we just heard from Alex Ovechkin, but now we're pleased to bring in Capitals GM Chris Patrick. Chris, I don't know if anyone has worked harder than you the past month or so. It has sure been a fun off season, but before we get to everything that the Capitals have done the past few weeks, we got to start with the big man himself. I know you can't share all of the details, but take us through what this process of re-signing him was like.
Yeah, it was a lot how Alex said in the call. We kind of went through our normal off-season planning and started getting into the execution. And then, as we got into July 1, he and I, exchanged had some conversation, exchanged some text messages, and kind of set up a call for early on the 2nd. And, with what we spent, we had some constraints around what we could, do with him as far as contracts. So I was a little bit nervous going into that call on the morning of the 2nd, to see where his head was on what he was thinking contract-wise. But like you said, it got done. I mean, I think 10 minutes is generous. It was a little bit less than that, and we were rocking and rolling. So I was really happy to get it done.
For the fans who aren't all that well versed on the CBA, how were you able to make the bonus structure work so that Alex was, fairly compensated, but it didn't hurt you guys cap-wise?
Yeah, I mean, it's a function a little bit of his age, and because it's a one-year deal, you're able to include performance bonuses and performance bonuses. If they put you over your cap number, they can actually be applied to the next year's cap. So, we knew we could give him a certain amount in salary and signing bonus for this year, and then we can give the performance bonuses. And if those end up pushing us over the cap, we'll apply them to next year's cap. So it was a nice tool to have. You'll see some other contracts. Matt Zuccarello did a performance bonus contract. Evgeny Malkin, same thing.
And with the cap going up again next year, it's not that much of a concern, right?
No, I mean, it's just something we'll work around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I know during his exit media availability in April, he said one of the things going into his decision to come back or not was going on a deep run, making playoffs. And so he said himself, it's a business, sad to see some guys go, but he seems very happy with the acquisitions and the talent that was brought in for this upcoming season. How much did you two discuss that, and what were his reactions to the team that is now built going into this year?
Yeah, I mean, before we left, we talked. It was hard, like he said, it was hard for him, seeing John and Nick go at the deadline and kind of what that meant for the team and where we were from a competitive standpoint. The team made a great push. It was, a couple points from making the playoffs at the end of the day, but that's not what any of us want. We want to be consistent, top of the division, top of the conference. So when we had some discussions, he said, if I come back, I'm coming back. I want to be on a good team, and are you guys going to be looking to make the improvements to the team, which we certainly were. So, so then when I talked to him after a lot of our moves, he was very excited. He really liked what we did. I thought we had a really good team, and wanted to make sure he was part of it. So it was good to hear that he was happy with what we did.
So he'll be 41 at the start of next year. He still led the team in goals and points last year. How do you best cater to his strengths while helping the team win?
Yeah, I mean, I think Spencer's done a really good job of that even the last couple of years. And not just with Alex, with all our players. Like, one of Carbs' strengths is finding the strengths in players and then working through the weaknesses that every player has. And he puts all our guys in positions to succeed. And he puts a lot of thought into how he crafts a lineup and how he utilizes lines based on their, their strengths and weaknesses. So Alex, like any other player, I think, Carl will put a lot of thought into how to use him and put him in the best situation. And obviously his situations are, he's an offensive guy. He's always been an offensive guy. So how do we put him into the best offensive situations? How do we find matchups where he's going to have an advantage against the other players he's out on the ice against? I mean, those are all things Carb spends a lot of time on.
He should get pretty advantageous matchups with all the talent that you brought in too, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's
third pairings.
Yes, it always helps. I mean, the more strong players you have, the more it makes the other team really have to think about their matchups, and it helps certainly at home, but a lot on the road when you don't have that last change. So it's hopefully made our team more dangerous to play against and makes life easier for Alex as well.
Off the ice last week, I had the chance to interview some of the new acquisitions, and it felt like almost every single one of them said they were added to the team group text, like within an hour of signing. And then on top of that, Ovi's the first one to reach out. So how much does having his leadership back, especially when you do have so many new guys this year, how much does that play a role as well? Because all of them seemed almost, I don't know if starstruck is the word, but excited that, now they're sharing a sweater with Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah, and he usually calls the draft picks too, and those are fun videos to see, right? These kids, but I mean, our culture, our team identity, when people talk about how great our group is and how much fun they have playing together, like that's all starts with Alex. And so yeah, it's a huge piece of what he brings, aside from everything he brings on the ice, is just that we've got a very inclusive group. We've got a group where people can come and be themselves. And just worry about playing hockey, and that's why you've seen a lot of players come here and crossroads of their careers and kind of find their way and take their game to another level. And so much of that is on how Alex leads this group and the energy and the inclusiveness he brings to the room.
So you had a huge offseason. You signed Tuck and Kyrou and Desharnais and Jenner and some more depth pieces. I imagine you checked all of the boxes. Did you even maybe surpass your own expectations for getting all these deals done?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of different plans and routes we can go based on what happened. Like I said in some other availabilities, you worry you have all the pieces, you get in on the deals, you have the conversations, and for whatever reason they don't go your way. So that was always a concern. And yeah, realistically, did I think we were going to end up with a guy like Jordan Kyrou and a guy like Alex Tuck? I mean, that was a long shot scenario, and the fact that it came our way was thrilling for us as a hockey ops staff and thrilling for the coaches. I know the players are really excited.
And if I can follow up real quickly, some of the organizational depth signings you made, it seems like you placed some more importance on getting guys that maybe aren't in the lineup every night, maybe aren't even here in D.C., but come up from Hershey. How important was it to get that organizational depth?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we have a lot of good young players in our system, but you don't want to have to force a young guy in either if he's not ready. And given the number of young guys we have in our NHL roster, we just thought it was important to have some guys that have good NHL experience as either depth pieces or pieces that can come up from Hershey.
Yep.
Because, like we saw last year early on, the injuries come, and when they do, if you're not ready for them, it's going to really set your team back. Yeah.
Seems like, the focus was getting these pieces, and now that you have them, and maybe this is more of a question for Spencer Carberry too, what's the mindset heading into camp and things like that as far as where you put those pieces? Because to your point, depth is now something that you guys really have.
Yeah, I mean, I think, guys are going to have to be open-minded about how their usage is, and I think, maybe for some guys their minutes might be down, and I think that's a good thing. I think some guys we relied on really heavily in their minutes, and it wears them down throughout the course of the season. So if someone's getting a little less 5-on-5 time or a little less PK time, it's for the better good of the greater group. But again, I think Carbs does a really good job managing all that, and I think the level of excitement around the people we're bringing in, I think guys are happy with how this team looks on paper, and so now it's just making it all translate onto the ice.
So in every road city, especially Toronto, Alex and probably you are going to be asked, okay, is this it? Is this the farewell tour? How do you manage that and keep that from becoming a distraction? I know you guys have a lot of experience dealing with that, but how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, luckily I don't get those questions as much, and I think Alex, he has this uncanny ability to just kind of separate things. He doesn't let that stuff get to him. He doesn't let it wear him down. He's really good at just kind of compartmentalizing things and focusing on what's in front of him. So I don't have a lot of concerns. If it does become, every city he's getting those questions, he'll be able to manage it.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for your time today. I know it's been a busy few weeks for you, so go enjoy the rest of your summer. You definitely deserve it, and we look forward to talking to you more come season time.
Thanks, guys. Awesome catching up.
Thanks, Chris.
Really appreciate Chris Patrick joining us today. Well, now it's time for him to enjoy his summer vacation because he did a lot this offseason. As we take a look at the Capitals' offseason moves, plenty of acquisitions, all in that. Most of them in those forward core, that top 9 now, has kind of transformed overnight with some help on the back end as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. I feel like Chris and his team really addressed all of the glaring issues this team had. We've been talking for years about how they needed to get faster up front. They certainly got faster with the addition of Jordan Kyrou and Alex Tuch. You're going to see those guys create a lot of offense on their own with their speed, especially Kyrou, very dynamic, creative player who can break down defensemen one-on-one. He's going to put a lot of pressure on opposing teams. You're going to see teams back up and give his line mates a lot of space because he's got that speed. When you think about some of the other issues this team has had in recent years, they didn't really have that big physical stay-at-home defenseman who could clear the crease in front. Vinny Desharnais, he's that dude, 6'7", 230 pounds. Opposing forwards are not going to want to see him either in the corner or in front of Logan Thompson. So, I'm looking at those 3 guys as being key, but, we can't forget about Boone Jenner. Boone Jenner is a versatile player who you can put at third-line center. You can also put him at fourth-line left wing. He's also been a captain for a very long time in this league, 5 years with the Blue Jackets. And look, the Caps have no shortage of leadership in their room with Ovi as their captain. But he can't talk to everybody all the time. If Jenner is on the fourth line, he needs to coach up some of the young guys or needs to pull someone aside in the room. They've lost some leadership in recent years too with, TJ Oshie moving on and Nicholas Backstrom moving on. Jenner, I predict, is going to fill some of that void.
Yeah, and if Jenner's on your fourth line, all of a sudden your depth just got, really deep.
Yeah.
But going back to Jordan Kyrou, Alex Tuch, who were acquired via trades first, look at the right wings now. Look at them, because you had Ryan Leonard, you had Tom Wilson. Yeah. Now you have those, another good problem to have. So not sure someone will have to play on the offside. Maybe assume it's Leonard, but again, this is all for come training camp time and what Carberry decides to do there. But how is this now a good problem to have when you have depth to where guys are having to play on their offsides?
That is a great problem to have, and you're looking at Jordan Kyrou right there. Throughout his career, he's been mostly a right wing, but he can play on the left side. I think you're exactly right, Katie. I think you're going to get into training camp. They're going to put some of those right shots on the left side, see who adapts the best to playing over there. But look, playing right wing or playing on your off wing isn't as big a deal as playing on your offside as a defenseman, where you're trying to do things, with your back to the play. Alex Tuch, another guy who is a right shot but can also play on the left side. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. If anything, it's going to be a good problem to have if you're this Capitals team. But I remember, the Florida Panthers a few years back making a deep run in the playoffs, and all of their wingers were left shots. I mean, it's you just figure it out. It really isn't that big a deal. I'd be more concerned if, let's say I had 5 of my 6 defensemen were all right shots or all left shots, because that's where technically it can start getting a little rough.
Well, Caps wanted to booster their top 6. I think it's safe to say the top 9 have all transformed in the course of 10 days. But now let's take a look at the back end quickly. I think that you could almost say things would be perfect had it not been for the Sandin injury and Game 81 against Pittsburgh. That certainly hurts, and we're wishing him the best of luck in hopes that he can return as quickly as possible. But to that point, Desharnais comes in. That's you need a guy like that, especially with Sandin out. But how do you see these defensemen shaking up for the Caps this year? Yeah,
I love the fact that Desharnais is a stay-at-home, a legit stay-at-home, because they've got a lot of guys who can run and gun too, right? I mean, you got Cole Hudson, who is going to deliver a lot of offense. You've also got Jacob Chikrin. So I'm looking at Desharnais as a guy who can play with either one of those guys and kind of be that yin to the other guy's yang. If Cole Hudson wants to get up in the play and make some things happen offensively, or Jacob Chikrin wants to pinch down the wall and try to keep that puck alive, you always know you got a guy like Vinny Desharnais who is going to be back and is going to have your back. So that's a really important part of this. And then, look, at some point, Rasmus Sandin is going to be healthy and he's going to be back. I mean, it's probably going to happen in January, maybe February. ACLs are tough injuries. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to totally get your legs under you. But, I look at this top 9 forward group and I'd put it up against anybody in the league. Maybe the Florida Panthers have as good a top 9, but I give the Caps a slight edge. And I look at those 6 blue liners, and it's going to go a little bit deeper once Rasmus Sandin is back in there. I'd put them up with anyone's blue line too. And then you got Logan Thompson in net, who is arguably one of the best goalies in the league. Probably should have got some serious Vezina consideration. Don't know what happened there, but that's a story for another day.
Well, you and I talked to every single new guy on a Zoom this week, and Desharnais too. I love the fact that he seemed thrilled to come to D.C. Just that living, and Carbs talked about it too, the culture that's being built here in Washington. So all in all, this has been a tremendous offseason. I think you could argue out of all of the NHL teams, the Capitals have had the best offseason. And to that point, let's look at the Eastern Conference, because last year it was a toss-up. Names were changing every single day. Of course, it went right down to the very end. But now this new transformed team, where do you think they stack up in the East?
I mean, let's start with the Metro. I mean, you got to give it to Carolina, right? I mean, Carolina is the Stanley Cup champion. By default, you have to say they are the Kings until they get dethroned. The Capitals have a better lineup on paper than the Carolina Hurricanes do at this point. So, I mean, I think it's going to be those teams battling it out, duking it out for the top of the Metro. Eastern Conference-wise, the Florida Panthers with getting Brady Tkachuk, and they got a lot of pests. They are oh my God, they are going to be such a pain in the butt to play against. I mean, they got Garnet Hathaway and Radko Gudas. I mean. Yes, rats is probably the right way to put it, which is also, it's funny, they actually throw rats on the ice when they score goals, but they are going to be a handful. I think Buffalo is going to be good again. I think the Eastern Conference is going to be the dominant conference over the Western, just like we saw last year. But the Caps have gone from a team that, was fighting tooth and nail every single day to get in the playoffs. We know they ultimately came up a point short. Not this year. Yeah. Not this year.
I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, and of course, everyone has to stay healthy too. That's the key here. But as we look ahead to this season, it's hard not to be excited. I've seen so many tweets from fans saying, gosh, can it just be September? Like, can we skip through summer? And I kind of feel that way too, because if everything goes as planned, is this a team that all of a sudden, after missing playoffs last year, could go on a deep run this year? Yeah,
without a doubt. And that's the expectation. I mean, when your ownership or your management, they just went out and spent $31 million on new players. That's not counting Alex. I don't count him because I knew he was coming back. I wasn't that worried. But $31 million on new players. I mean, they have committed to making this team a really good team, top to bottom, depth-wise. And something I asked Chris Patrick about there, they also went out and signed a bunch of players that are going to be extras here in D.C. They might even be top of the lineup down in Hershey, but as they learned last year, organizational depth is so important. I'm talking about Justin Hall and Josh Dunn and Johnny Brodzinski. I mean, these are guys that probably aren't going to play every night in Washington. But when there's injuries, and injuries are going to happen over the course of, remember, it's 84 games, an 84-game season, you're going to be able to call on these guys who are proven NHL players in their 30s. They're going to be able to step in, and you're not going to miss a beat. in short doses in a handful of games. But that is so important for teams that want to make deep runs, because then you get to the playoffs and guys start getting banged up and, they get worn down over the course of 84 games. You're going to need a guy like Brodzinski or Dunn or someone to step in for a game or two in the playoffs. That's the difference between getting bounced in the second round when you have some injury problems and keeping it going.
Depth, absolutely. Well, Chris Patrick and his management team have been absolute masterminds. Alex Ovechkin is returning. There is a lot to look forward to come September in the nation's capital. So, Tarik, thanks so much. As always, cannot wait to do this when the season rolls around. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Rink Report at Home.